Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time to once again board the NCC 1701, captained by none other than James Tiberius Kirk, as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 3, The Paradise Syndrome. I don't take any second with the original crew for granted, friends, and I can't wait to continue these adventures in Season 3. Before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel, and it allows me to alert you next time we go live with the original series or any of our sci-fi fare. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description. But my dear friends, all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to once again travel among the stars as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 3, The Paradise Syndrome. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go! Ooh, we start with an exterior. Oh, me always likey exterior. Vasquez Rocks Natural Park, I wonder. Our home away from home. Certainly looks like it. Very similar to the locale in Shore Leave. The Big Three, friends. Somebody's playing the shit out of that flute, too.
Astronomical, Captain. The relative size, age, and composition of this planet makes it highly improbable that it would evolve similarly to Earth in any way.
Hey, we see this a lot, everybody.
That.
Oh my god. Look out for slee stacks.
These incised symbols are fascinating, evidently some form of writing.
Any theories about what it is?
Damn, that's a big-ass prop.
Meadows and no meteor craters. The whole place is an enigma, biologically and culturally.
What's the nearest concentration of life forms, Mrs. Spock?
Is there sentient life on this planet?
And how much time did you say we have to investigate?
If we are to divert the asteroid, which is on a collision course with this planet, we must warp out of orbit within 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay, so pre-warp, obviously, civilization, we can assume here. And they're all going to die because of an asteroid collision.
What they look like, I'd swear they're American Indians.
They are, Doctor. A mixture of Navajo, Mohegan, and Delaware, I believe.
It's like discovering Atlantis. Or Shangri-La.
A lost continent or country?
Shouldn't we contact them, Jim? Tell them?
Tell them what?
Our appearance here would only serve to confuse and frighten them.
We've got a job to do. Let's get back to the Enterprise.
I've noticed that Bill Shatner does that a lot. Whenever he really wants to be casual with his acting, he'll have some type of prop to manipulate. I always think of like the beginning of the series when he had that apple almost all the time when he was...
Uncomplicated, no problems, no command decisions. Just living.
Back in the 20th century, we referred to it as the Tahiti Syndrome. It's particularly common to overpressured leader types like starship captains.
Tahiti is a magical place. This is a hell of a prop if they built this. This has to be some type of like redressed statue or something.
I suggest that any further research on your part be delayed until after we have diverted the asteroid.
Hey, Spock, don't worry about McCoy. He's not gonna, like, you know, break out the beakers here or anything. He's doing his
Kirk to Enterprise.
Yes, sir.
Oh, shit! I have no idea where he went. All right, Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. Friends, this is the type of stuff that I really like. You know, the setup at least is interesting and good because I've always said it. I love watching any Star Trek. You know, I'm watching Strange New Worlds now as well. You know, obviously Lower Decks, the exploration, the discovery of the unknown. Setups like this, they're saving a planet that doesn't know that there's an asteroid coming toward. That stuff is really, really cool to me. I just really, I'm really down with that type of stuff. And watching, especially the original crew do this, and it's predominantly always the big three, that's just my favorite part about Star Trek. It's just the discovery, the exploration, the science. I mean, I hate science in school and I love it in Star Trek. So, take that for what you will. Without Star Trek, I probably would be science be damned. Look at that beauty. I always like when she's going into the eclipse because she gets dark when she goes across.
Stardate 484.
Directed by Judd
2.6.
Taylor.
First,
I didn't see the writer.
numerous search parties and repeated sensor probes of the area have failed to locate Captain Kirk.
So it's shielded down there.
Prepare to beam us up, Mr. Scott. We're warping out of orbit.
Leaving? You can't be serious, Spock.
Doctor,
30 minutes, man.
if we arrive at the deflection point in time, it may not get here at all.
In the meantime, what about Jim?
Once the asteroid has been diverted,
You come back.
That may be hours from now. He may be injured or dying.
And then you stay, Bones.
if we don't get to that deflection point in time, it will become physically impossible to divert this asteroid. In that case, everyone on this planet will die. The longer we delay, the less the likelihood of being able to divert it.
I love shit like this. I love shit like this. I mean, McCoy would understand it. That's for us, the explanation, and I love that. I'm curious as to what triggered the trap door, because I thought it might have been like the communication signal, but Spock was in the same place when he called up.
What place is this?
It's the land of the lost, bud. Look out for them slee stacks.
One of these. I feel I should know.
Oh, shit.
How did I get here?
That's a handheld. That's interesting.
Try to remember.
Back in the day, handhelds were usually used to create tension because it gave you an organic movement, put you more in the scene as far as like our perception to it. And that instability causes us, the viewer, to get tense.
Wait.
Oh my God, they're going to think he's a god. He's going to believe it because he has no idea who he is.
Who are you?
We are your people.
Oh boy, here we go.
Our delay on the planet's surface has made it imperative that we proceed at maximum warp speed for a period which exceeds the recommended safety margin.
Scotty's not happy.
But we're moving further into the danger range all the time. If these circuits get...
Objection noted, Mr. Scott. Carry on.
Montgomery, you know they're always going to redline this shit.
Words will not save us when the skies darken. We must be certain. I say he must prove he is a god.
Our skies have darkened 3 times since the harvest. The last time, worst of all.
Like an eclipse?
But I came from the sky.
You sure did, Jim.
A terrible thing has happened. The boy was attending the fish nets and he became entangled in them and sank to the bottom of the river.
Oh, God. Jim, do you know, like, CPR? Do you remember CPR? I'm digging this. I love watching Bill Shatner, like, enjoy the acting. I'm not sure if he does this episode, but he's certainly acting like it.
You'll be all right now.
My people are grateful.
It's a simple technique. Goes way back.
Remember it.
Only God can breathe life into the dead. Do you still question?
Or are you going to be our problem for this episode?
Give him the medicine badge.
No, come on now. This is just promoting the rivalry. He has your job now. You are nobody. There's an opening at Shit Shoveler. That would suck, man. I feel bad for the guy, man. You know. I'd be pissed too, bud. We're getting Expanse all up in this shit. Where's Marco Inaros?
Do that, we'll burn out the engines.
I want full power, Mr. Scott.
Aye, sir.
I was like, where's Chekhov? He's over at Science, where he's supposed to be.
Deflection point -4.
All engines stop. Hold position here.
It's so cool that, like, for continuity, they always make sure that Chekhov is at the science station when Spock is either in a landing party or commanding. It's cool shit.
deflection point. Now, sir.
Activate deflectors.
So you're just nudging its trajectory right now, right? You're not blowing it up.
What for? To destroy it. A narrow beam concentrated on a single spot will split that mass.
All right, well, so they break it, and if this is the planet, like it splits over. Jim wanted to just live, didn't he?
You should be working on our ritual cloak.
There will be no ritual between us now, Salish.
Salish.
It is because of tradition that I cannot marry you.
But you are promised to me.
Oh my God, my man lost his job and his fiance?
Tribal priestess and medicine chief are always joined.
He is medicine chief now.
My guy's getting the shit into the stick.
Miramani, if you could choose, would you choose me?
A yes doesn't hurt. Well, Salish is incredibly sympathetic here. This guy did nothing wrong other than question whether or not this dude that just showed up as a god, and he is getting absolutely destroyed.
Tell me about the wise ones.
Tell? But a god knows everything.
Not this one. Tell me.
Bill's acting's very good in this one. So far.
His father did not wish to share his power too soon. He died before he told Salish the secret.
Well, that sucks. Well, Salish has been on the wrong side of getting your ass kicked for quite a bit now.
Kerr. Rock?
Good enough.
All I can tell you is that I'm happy and peaceful here.
Then Jim...
I'm not sure, but I think I've never felt that way before.
Oh my God, Jim, then take advantage of it, bud.
Why are they so sure I can help them?
Well, you came from the stone metal. And did you not bring life to the child?
Yes, but
You can only, like, Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court this shit to so long, you know?
Fire phasers.
He's the one firing.
That Vulcan won't be satisfied till these panels are a puddle of lead.
Scotty's like...
All phasers fired, sir.
Rig for simultaneous firing, Mr. Sulu. Commence simultaneous bombardment.
Scotty's just like... He's like, do you all smell that? That's the ship burning up. We're not supposed to smell that.
The ritual cloak is finished. If it pleases you, I would like to name the joining day.
Joining day.
My man Salish, I feel bad for that guy.
Miramani, there's no one else in my mind or my heart.
I wonder if these are probably genuine feelings for Jim. Just doesn't have the context of who he was. I don't think I've seen Jim this happy since Edith Keeler.
The only thing we have left is impulse power.
Estimated repair time.
Hang on here in space forever.
Forever.
I accept the responsibility, Doctor.
And my responsibility is the health of this crew. You've been driving yourself too hard, and I want you to get some rest.
I'm mad at you. Take care of yourself.
Back to that planet without warp speed, it'll take months, Spock.
Exactly 59.223 days, Doctor. And that asteroid will be 4 hours behind us all the way.
Whoa.
We might not be able to save the captain even if he still is alive. We might not be able to save anything, including the ship.
Now get some rest.
Another calculated Vulcan risk, Doctor.
A Vulcan risk? Do Vulcans take risks?
It's a time for joy for all my people.
Poor Salish.
You will wait until I walk the holy path to the Earth Lodge first, to give me time to tell the priestess that you follow.
During that time, Salish will attack you. Deservedly so. So we're going to assume that Jim's going to be parked here for 50 plus days. Oh.
You bleed. You bleed, Kirak. Behold a god who bleeds.
Okay. You got me. You know what? I was given bogus information. Somebody told me that like Jim's favorite move is the double-handed punch, like the
Kill me. Kill
it's
me,
horse
Doc.
shit. It's the fucking kicks.
That you are no god.
Stick it in his chest. Casual murder.
I thought you were reporting to sickbay.
There isn't time, Doctor. I must decipher those obelisk symbols.
You have 50 days, bud.
You've been trying to do that ever since we started back to that planet. 58 days.
I'm aware of that, Doctor.
It's been 58 days?
Well, your Vulcan metabolism is so low it can hardly be measured, and as for the pressure, that green ice water you call
My
blood.
physical condition is...
Green ice water.
Well, we were wrong. So are you. You made a command decision. Jim would have done the same. My prescription is rest. Now, do I have to call the security guards to enforce it?
Plum. That's the closest you're gonna get to Plum saying, listen, maybe I was a little too harsh. Spock. That's very human of you to lie like that. Lie. I'll see myself out. I very much like this storyline. I'll talk about it in thoughts. There's one major change that would make this money for me. Yeah, Bill Shatner is noticeably thinner in this season. I wonder if he was getting ready for like another role or something whenever they kind of re-engage season 3.
They've come back. They were gone for a while, but they've come back.
What if it's like the proximity of the Enterprise?
These last few weeks, my love for Miramani grows stronger with each passing day. However, the dreams return every night.
I bear your child.
What?
You.
Oh my God! Is this legit?
With the power of the lamp. Lamp? Which turns night into day. We can cook twice as much food and...
That's what he was working on. Okay, cool.
It's only the wind.
They say when the sky darkens, though. I don't think he's experienced it yet.
The wind is only the beginning. Soon the sky will darken, the lake will go wild, and the earth will tremble. Only you can save us.
Really?
You must go inside the temple and make the blue flame come out.
I don't know how to get in.
Is it like a defense mechanism?
If you do not rouse the temple spirit, we will all die.
There is nothing you cannot do, my husband.
Well, what do you wait for, God?
Well? So this must be like... If this thing is like an ancient defense mechanism, like a shield or even like a phaser of some kind, I wonder if it's just gonna like automatically like take out the asteroid. Wouldn't that be a bitch? They never had to do anything. So what did he do to trigger that trap door the first time?
The symbols on the obelisk are not words. They are musical notes.
Musical notes.
Interesting.
It was left by a super race known as the Preservers.
Preservers.
I've always wondered why there were so many humanoids scattered through the galaxy.
So have I. Apparently, the Preservers account for a number of them.
Interesting.
There's the false one.
Oh wow, they turned on him pretty quick.
It's false.
Well, Salish, then you do something. Thank God. Man, I hope she's not dead. Plum, there's somebody else hurt too.
Spock to Enterprise.
Come in, Mr. Spock.
We've located the captain. Beam down Nurse Chapel with an emergency surgical kit.
My wife. Is she all right?
Wife? Hallucinations?
Jim.
Beside you guys.
Kurok could not get back into the temple.
I wonder if the communicator's chime or chirp was a musical note that opened up the temple.
Spock here.
Tracking report.
It's not that.
I am Spock. You are James Kirk. I am...
He's fighting it, man.
Spock!
Wow.
He's an extremely dynamic individual.
You already knew that, though, didn't you, Spock?
It worked.
Does he remember everything, though?
What's inside is loaded with scientific equipment.
This obelisk is one huge deflector mechanism. It is imperative that we get inside immediately. Captain, we do not have much time.
It's his wife, man. Come on. Damn, Spock.
You mean entry can be gained by playing certain notes on a musical instrument?
That would be one method. Another would be a series of tonal qualities spoken in their proper sequence.
He already...
Kirk to Enterprise.
Hi, Captain.
Nice.
Bones. Stay with her. Do what you can.
I mean, I understand, like, they were ignoring her.
It is similar to deflector panels I've seen, Captain, but far more complicated.
Well, Spock, that's why we brought you here, bud.
Can you read them?
I do have an excellent eye for musical notes, Captain. They would seem to indicate that this series of relays activated in their proper
Spock,
sequence.
just press the right button.
Do it. You don't have to explain it. This is not... We're not in school. Woo!
How is she? She had bad internal injuries, Jim.
No, she's lost the kid.
No.
You can't do anything, Plum? Are you serious? That's horse shit, man.
When I am better,
Oh, man.
we will live long and happy lives. I will bear you many strong sons.
This is heartbreaking, man.
Love you always.
And I love you, Miramani.
Oh, Jim. My man cannot catch a break with this shit.
Each kiss is as the first.
That's heartbreaking to me. My guy literally cannot fall in love. If he does, it's just tragedy. Oh, great ending. Right into the credits, too. That was a very good ending to that. Normally, you know, we have some type of like lighthearted like moment to kind of like bring the audience back out of it. To drag the ending right into that is really, really good. All right, everybody, we just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 3, The Paradise Syndrome. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching the third episode of the third season of Star Trek, the original series, The Paradise Syndrome. Friends, I thought this one was a really, really good one. It's interesting that this is the one that we had right now because I just finished watching the Lower Decks episode. Oh God, what was the name of it? Fully Dilated, where the away team, the landing party, goes down and is stuck on a planet for like 10 months or something, a year basically. And so they have to live among the like pre-warp society, you know. And again, it's one of the very few episodes of the Next Generation that I've actually seen. And someone actually even told me the title of the episode, something like Into the Light, maybe that's what it is, something like that. Where Picard basically gets like zapped by a probe, if I'm remembering correctly, and he lives an entire lifetime in the culture or the society that generated the probe. It was kind of like a, hey, you want to learn about us, you live like us. And that was like what he did. And like it changed him. Like he lived a whole life. He had like kids and learned how to play the flute and all this stuff, things that he remembered when he came back out of it. And I'm forgetting a bunch of it, but I remember seeing that episode. My friend showed it to me years and years, like when it aired. And I remember just being like, oh my God, this episode is really, really good, you know? And it's weird because there's a bunch of stuff that's coming around that's similar to this now. And now we have this one with the Paradise Syndrome. I mentioned this during the reaction. Here's the major change that I think would have really made this episode like click. And I think the episode wasn't bad at all either. I would definitely say it's like, for me, I always say like top half or bottom half, or, you know, somewhere in the middle. And I definitely think it's an above average episode. I really do. I think it could have been, because I think the performances were really good too. Miramani, I thought that the actress did a great job with her role. Very endearing, very sweet, you know, very innocent. You know, just really the delivery especially at the end on her deathbed was just so, but my God, the tragedy that Jim has to go through. I mean, Edith Keeler, Miramani, the unborn child. Oh my God. I mean, that's stuff that there's no way that Jim can come back from that. You know what I mean? That's stuff that you can't forget, you can't get past, you can't, you know, that's forever now a part of you. That knowledge, that tragedy is forever a part of you. It redefines many things that you are, you know what I mean? And it just goes into the entire puzzle that is James Kirk. And you know, I mean, he's my captain. I love the guy, and it's just I hate to see it. I hate to see it. Now, the one thing that I think would have been changed, and of course, you know, you all have told me too. The reason why we have, you know, like the Native American world, the Roman world, you know, the Nazi world, and all these things is because they were trying to reduce costs. So they would look around and say, hey, who's got costumes we can borrow? And you know, westerns were a huge thing back then. So I'm assuming they were able to raid somebody's costume department and, you know, get all these things over here and make it cheaply. But the thing is, I think that even though I think the episode worked, you know, and I actually like the idea of the preservers, you know, somebody that's been going around kind of seeding these planets. That's why they're all humanoid and all kind of resemble Earth. That's a cool little thing to throw in there too, just to kind of get us thinking. Don't explain it too much. Just kind of throw it in there to just, you know, say, oh, maybe this is a preserver world, you know, the other ones that we've seen too. But I truly think that if given here's what I think this would have really flown. If instead of a Native American tribe, they had been aliens, you know, like not necessarily, you know, full, like completely different, you know, as far as like non-humanoid aliens. I mean, they could have looked like Andorians, or, you know, you could have had whatever you wanted. But I think that in and of itself would have really kind of, I liked it. I liked, you know, having this kind of duplicate Earth again. I've accepted all that type of stuff. I just think that if for history to kind of look back at this episode, I think that if Jim had fallen in love with like an alien, and you know they become pregnant and whatnot, I just think that would have been, I don't know. It just seems like it would have been more science fiction-y, more Star Trekky. Does that make sense? And I'm not sure if I would have even liked that, you know, but I think that now looking back on it, that change from the known with a Native American tribe to the unknown with an alien kind of culture and everything like that could have really been identical to the way they portrayed the culture on the planet. I just think it would have been really, really interesting to see kind of Jim fall into this world, you know, not being able to really remember his earlier life, and there would have been no real kind of context for him to kind of look back on, you know, no understanding of, you know, Earth history or anything like that kind of popped up in his head. I don't know. I just think it would be almost a way to modernize it, I guess, in a way, you know, and you know what? Maybe that you know, the creatives, even if they did have everything at their disposal as far as a budget and whatnot, they would have still opted to go in this route, which again, I have no problem with. I just think that in retrospect and in looking back, having the entire group be aliens would have been something interesting. It would have been really interesting. And then to make Miramani pregnant, that would have been to me, that would have been really, really cool. Again, Love the episode. I just think that one change like rockets this episode into like a top 15, top 10, maybe, if you really went at it. Because I thought the events on the Enterprise were really cool. It was it was a science-y type of thing. We had an asteroid that was heading towards a populated planet, was going to take it out. We had a mysterious alien technology on the planet. We weren't sure how to use it. The captain was missing. We lost warp drive. Scotty's like, how long is it going to take me out in space? Forever. It's not getting fixed. It took them 50 days to get back. That is really cool shit. That to me, that's like a really cool attention to like the science fiction aspect of everything and emphasis on the science. We don't really see that too terribly much in Star Trek, where there's a definitive problem that can't be fixed in a couple hours. Scotty was just like, I cannot fix this. So 50, what do you say, 58.3 or so many days later? That's really cool. That's a really interesting, kind of space to have to be in to get in. And so that whole side of it, the Enterprise side of it, was really, really cool. And I thought that the way that they developed everything on planet with Jim was really interesting as well, too, because taking away and kind of, you didn't really, Jim wasn't a different person as Kurok. He was Jim without the weight of responsibility of being a starship captain, without like the understanding that there were lives depending upon. He was freed. The shackles of the chair were taken off. He made comments when he was Jim before, when they went down earlier in the top of the episode. Boy, just to live, and he got it. He got that chance to just live. And of course, Jim doesn't get a chance to just live and have it be awesome. He has to live and then experience this tragedy, which again reminds me, from the limited stuff that I can remember, reminds me of that Picard episode where, he lived through it and he remembered the family and the life that he had on this alien world. And, that in and of itself is so traumatic. This has to be the same for Jim. And I think that the creatives did a great job in making sure that we knew that, making sure that this isn't something that Jim was just going to be able to kind of get away from. Now, of course, it'll never be mentioned because of the episodic and not the serialized, but we know what Jim went through. We know what he went through with Edith Keeler. We know what he went through with Miramani now. And, ending the episode with him just holding her and looking at her, as she passed, and then the credits coming up, that was very powerful. And that was the creatives to us saying, no, this isn't over for Jim. The episode ends, but this is not over for him. He's going to feel this forever. It was just a really, really good way to do the episode. And again, I think that this was a strong premise, and it was a very good execution, exterior shots, hard stuff to do. And then we had a new director too in Judd Taylor. Judd, you did a great job, buddy. I mean, I thought it was fantastically well shot. You had I always love too with I'll end with this. I always love too how Star Trek, whenever they have like a new person come in, they cut them no slack whatsoever. It's like, oh, you're brand new to Star Trek. How about some exteriors? It's like shit, exteriors, locales that are beyond the, like, inside the pyramid, inside the different the lodges and things like that. It's just everything. I mean, mixing in exteriors back in the day that is so difficult because he had to have two teams. You always still only have 6 days. Oh my God, that must have sucked. But did a great job. Did a great job, Judd. I thought, a hell of a out of the gate performance here for Star Trek: The Original Series. But boy, oh boy, I'm sure with exterior locations, we had some really great guest stars. I'd really like to know how the creatives kind of came about with all of this, and was the use of the Native American wardrobes. I'm assuming of the neighboring westerns. Was that obviously something to keep money, or maybe it was another reason entirely? Maybe it was always meant to be this way. I'm very curious, but there's really only one person that can answer these questions. Well, there's two, but the other one said he would see us later in the future. But this one we can always count on because he's a man of action, he is. So we must ask right now for these questions to finally be clarified. General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane. retired. Friends, this is where after having watched and reacted to an original series episode of Star Trek, I like to dig a little bit deeper and go behind the cameras and find out things that if I had looked them up beforehand would have ruined the episode for me. But to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 categories to explore. The first of which, writer and director, who were they? The second, guest stars, did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth and juiciest of the categories, the production notes, what went on behind the cameras. And last but certainly not least, our 5th category, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, friends, and for our first category, writer and director, who were they? Well, we have Star Trek newbies, rookies, if you will, to the original series, as our writer is Margaret Arman and our director is Judd Taylor. I actually liked, we'll get into a little bit more about the script down in production notes, but I actually enjoyed the script. I enjoyed the episode. It was a little over the top at certain places, but again, an exterior locale used, and Judd Taylor, being a rookie, was thrown into the deep end and swam accordingly. Very good job by both. Let's move on. And now our second category, guest stars. Did we have any? We had a bunch, everybody. So I narrowed it down to our 2 most prominent, I guess you should say, by line delivery and role-wise, with Sabrina Sharf as Miramani and Rudy Solari as Salish. I thought they both did a great job. Again, maybe I've heard kind of rumors that things are going to start to get kind of weaker here in season 3, but so far I believe that the guest stars having, their acting strength has remained on par with seasons 1 and 2. I pray that that continues. Well, let's move on. All right, everybody, and for our third category of the core cast or the Big 8 who is present. The Big 8 consists of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Sulu, Uhura, and Chekhov and Chapel. Everybody appeared in this episode, so technically we had the entire Big 8. However, Nichelle Nichols' role was actually restocked footage that was put back into this episode, so she didn't have any lines and wasn't physically present. So, sort of, we have the Big 8. Let's move on. All right, friends, and now for our 4th and juiciest category of the entire Q&A, our production notes. What went on behind the cameras? Let's get started. Now for our first production note, and this was pretty much speculated during the reaction, but several months passed between the beginning of this episode and the end of this episode, marking this, the Paradise Syndrome, as the longest time-wise episode of the original series. Its length was never eclipsed, and again, it's one of the longer episodes in any Star Trek series. Awesome stuff. Let's move on. And now for our second production note, my friends, and this was a speculation that I thought couldn't possibly be true. Turns out it was. The obelisk was built specifically for this episode. It wasn't grabbed from some other spot, used from some other production. They didn't get a piece here, a piece there. Nope. They built that whole thing tip to tail out there, and I cannot believe that they did that. That is a huge structure. I'm sure it was very cost ineffective when they put it up, but I thought that it was a very prominent, one of the most prominent set pieces we've had in Star Trek, the original series. I struggle to think of something that was built specifically for Star Trek that was bigger. Help me out, friends. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our third production note, again, we harken back to this being an exterior location. I should say maybe a bonus Q&A here. This is the last, we actually have one other brief exterior shoot, apparently, in one of the future episodes from season 3. But as far as like a predominantly outdoor exterior shooting script and show episode, this is our last. Again, expensive to be outside. Population as far as, bringing in guest stars and guest actors to kind of flesh out everything. Extras were a commodity that at this point, it seems, the original series just couldn't spare or didn't have the money for. So this will be our last dominant exterior shot. But just as a note, this the lake that was shown in this, where we had the tribe beside the lake and everything, was actually the Franklin Reservoir above Los Angeles. It's been used for, and I know where the Franklin Reservoir is, and I, for some reason, thought it was the Vasquez Rocks Natural Resource Park, but it's actually the Franklin Reservoir, and from the Franklin Reservoir, numerous westerns and TV shows were filmed, none more prominently than the fishing hole in the Andy Griffith Show. Friends, let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth production note, and this one is script related and incredibly important, not for the events of the Paradise Syndrome specifically, but for the events of Star Trek at large. In the original Margaret Arman script, Miramani and her child survive. They live, and we really don't know what happens to them. Kirk leaves the planet, which leads us to our final production note. Let's move on. Now, it appears that this original ending of the Paradise Syndrome, its discussion and debate didn't end with this episode. In fact, many years later, it was brought up when they were in pre-production for the Wrath of Khan movie, Star Trek II. It was brought up briefly as maybe a vessel for bringing in the child of Kirk. Is there a way that Miramani survived? Because they really wanted to have that parent dynamic for Jim. However, they ultimately decided that it was something that couldn't have happened and not in the way that they could have made it relatable to the events of the story. Thus, David Marcus was born, and the Carol Marcus backstory was added to Kirk. A lot of people think it was retconned into Kirk, kind of shoehorned in there. But again, I know the events of Wrath of Khan, but I'm very torn. What do you all think? I think that right now, for my money, that if the creatives at Paramount today in 2024, of time of this recording, could go back in time and convince them to leave the child of Kirk alive, they would have done so. Because they go out of their way now to make sure that they say that there's progeny for Picard and there's some type of lineage in place. Having a child of Kirk potentially being in Starfleet would have been something else, my friends. And I think now the realization is that original script ending was definitely the stronger for numerous reasons. Let's move on. And last and certainly not least, my friends, our fifth category for this Q&A, a memorable quote from this episode. I decided to actually kind of sandbag my own rules, and I picked two, friends, because I really thought they were two very powerful moments that helped explain Jim in a way that the original ending of this episode probably would have done, but these lines of dialogue help out a little bit. The first is from Miramani. It's her final words when she says, "Each kiss is as the first." And again, when Jim is speaking to Miramani, he says, "And I'll love you, Miramani, always." So again, is that making him out to be a bit of a hero, even though the original ending could have been seen as the anti-hero type of thing? Sure, but it still informs us onto the character of Kirk. It informs us that he will remember her always. And the one thing you can say about Jim Kirk, he is a man of his word. And so, my friends, thus ends another installment of Q&A. Until we have time to play with Jim and crew again, behave yourselves.